Hey, No Nation, how's it going? It's CJ Wilson with DoakTalk. Of course, I'm your host. It's been a busy spring with visits in and out from the recruiting front. And of course, I had to bring in your residential expert and, of course, the OG in regarding to FSU recruitment, a senior recruiting analyst for Warchant, Michael Langston. Mike, how's it going?
CJ, man, I've known CJ for a while. I'm going good, man. I appreciate you having me on. Certainly, it's a lot of exciting times because I think people are kind of like, "What we gonna see, man? What are we gonna see this year? What are they gonna look like?" Yeah, recruiting's been crazy. Visits in and out. I think in the summer they're almost up to 50 official visits for the summer. So it's going to be crazy. It's already going pretty well. I think 2027 they've got some commits already rolling in from there. But I think overall, I think everyone's focused on can these guys do the job for 2026 of recruiting because you added a lot of new faces, that you added in there as far as different positions. So it's been very intriguing and exciting to kind of watch kind of these guys work.
Right, that's an interesting point as well. Of course, it was a 2-10. Sorry, two and how many games? 2-10. Right, 2-10 season for FSU. Want to forget it just that quickly, but a 2-10 season. But we did have
You
some
got it. You got it.
fireworks. Yeah, we did have some fireworks and some excitement. Of course, the closed signing day for the 2025 class, and that's kind of carried over to the 26 class. The unknown what this recruiting staff can do. And from a visit
Hmm.
standpoint, it's been pretty impressive. I want to kind of jump into, I guess, what the board looks like for FSU as they kind of zero in from spring visits, junior days, and all that type of deal, and leading up to the summer official visit. And I guess you could say commitment season in July
Okay.
and August. Let's speak about the quarterback position. And of course, FSU did lose the commitment in four-star quarterback Brady Smigel, and it's been a few quarterbacks that they've offered within that time frame. Of course, Bo Bentley, who recently did not include FSU in his top three, Landon Duckworth, and things like that. From what you've been hearing, what you've been seeing, what is the
Right.
quarterback prospects like for FSU moving forward?
Yeah, kind of. Where they're at is four-star quarterback Jaden O'Neal. He visited over the weekend. A really good visit. To my knowledge, he didn't go to Auburn like he expected to. He just flew back home to Oklahoma, I think, where he lives, and so that's certainly not a bad sign as far as how things went. And I'd heard that visit went really well. And the other big name is Landon Duckworth. You mentioned him, really tight. Has a lot of good ties with Gus Malzahn. He's supposed to visit in April. I get that question on our message boards all the time. When's Landon going to visit? So I think that's the next one that's coming up. Landon already has a summer official visit set up to FSU on June 13th. But it's really important for them for me to see them be a major threat. I think they just like Jaden. I think you need to get him in there in April where he gets to watch the practices and just kind of get a feel for things before you really, because official visits are kind of like to me like closing time where
Mhm.
yeah, decision time, all that stuff. So I think it's a big deal to get Landon in there for spring. And I think I get cautiously optimistic that they'll get him in for in April, like I expect. But those are kind of the two right now. There's others. There's more. Travis Burgess, a three-star quarterback out of Grayson, Georgia. He's one that visited too. I know they like him. He's another one. But those two I mentioned first, I think those are the main guys.
That makes sense. And I do kind of agree with you as well. As far as the Duckworth situation, official visits is more so a closing time. I really feel like if
Mm.
FSU wants to actually be in I guess the thick of things with Duckworth, you got to get him in April for that unofficial visit. Moving on to the running back position, Coach Yak has done a pretty good job of getting guys on campus. Of course, we already have one running back committed already, and I'm feeling like they're looking for this last piece and that piece to be a kind of big one, a home run threat. Let's talk about the prospects
Right.
FSU are looking at for the last running back piece.
Yeah, I already have Amari Thomas in there, originally from Mariana, but he moved. He's playing at Bluntstown now. Four-star running back, explosive, very explosive guy, fast. Visits FSU very frequently. He also officially visits in the summer. And then the big guy to keep an eye on is Carson Baker, four-star Carson Baker out of Langston Hughes High School over there in Georgia. They've put a lot of work behind the scenes in this recruitment. It's one where I feel good about where FSU stands. Like if he was picking today, in my opinion, I think FSU would be the pick I think it would be. but certainly has to go through the official visits. You certainly, I think he narrowed his list down to five. I know obviously FSU was in there, but I really like kind of what they've done with him. Yak, David Johnson, for those who don't know, his nickname Yak, David Johnson, the running backs coach, is really good as far as coveting speed. And this kid, fits that mold. Can run track, can run speed. Really good change of direction. Shifty. Just checks off everything that he likes. Does a lot of similar things to what I saw out of high school from Lawrence Philly. Does a lot of similar things. He's just faster. I would say he's faster out of high school than probably LT was, but overall, there's other targets, but everything I think CJ really circles around. I think Carson in this class. That's the one that I think they're really locked in on. Certainly, there's other backs that are going to officially visit FSU, but I think that's the one that I've kind of honed in on. That I feel like on that official visit when he comes on June 6th, that's the one where I think they can close the deal.
Perfect. I like the sound of that. Let's move on to the receiver position. Of course, we have Tim Ice Harris, the new receiver coach. There's been a plethora of receivers visiting on campus as well. A more
Yeah,
interesting one that FSU kind of sealed an official visit with, legacy recruit and former commit
yeah.
in Devon. So just talk about the receiver group and how you see that board shaking out going into the official visit season.
Yeah, there's a lot of talented guys on there. I think four-star wide receiver Brandon Bennett from American Heritage is one that they're really certainly really high on. We've seen a bunch of other different guys that have visited. I think a few days ago, even Jaden Dunbar from Thomas County Central, who I like a lot. I think FSU likely will get an official visit there for. So I think there's a lot of guys on that board. I think the real thing they're looking for, they want that combination of size and speed. CJ, that's really a thing that they've really, you could see that even in the last class when they landed like four guys that were like 6'4", 6'5". So I think guys like Bennett that fit that system. They're kind of you're kind of looking for those guys. There's a lot more. Um, Kind of drawing a blank. I know they already have EJ White in the class.
Mm-hmm.
That's one that they already have committed. That's certainly I think solid as far as FSU, but I think really it's just going to come down to kind of those official visits in the summer. If they can close the deal for a lot of these, talented four-star prospects, they're coming in for visits, and certainly I think that's what I'm kind of focused on. But I think they want to take like probably I'd say two or three, maybe four if they can squeeze it in, because they have a lot of talented receivers, but they need more youth in there. They need more explosive guys. I like what they did in the portal, but they need some more youth and talent as far as in that receiver room. So I think that's kind of where they are at that position.
Sounds like a plan to me. FSU's done a pretty good job these last few years recruiting the tight end position. Of course, you have Chase Lofton out in Nebraska beating out the home state team for that. And of course, the big time battle. Well, we had the
Yeah,
surprise, I guess, reclassification for Amari Williams. And of course, winning with against Georgia for Landon Thomas. What do you
yeah.
see from the tight end recruiting board for this year for FSU?
Yeah, the last few years that room's been great. They've done a really good job, really developing that room. Obviously, Mari's playing edge this year, some defense. So, but it just shows you. That's why I tell people like last year what Maury did in playing as a true freshman. It really shows you the job Thompson does with development, and certainly what they've did with Landon. Tell you, watch out for Chase Lofton, guys. I've heard a lot of good things about that kid from from contacts I've talked to as far as how he's standing out. So that's a guy that you really keep an eye on. As far as this year, certainly there's a lot of names. I think Jose Kent is one that's coming in. He's going to officially visit in the summer. Visited FSU last week in the spring. FSU Florida battle, from what I can gather. Um, Evan Jacobson's probably my favorite guy. He's out there in the Iowa area. I think Notre Dame, Miami, and FSU are kind of the teams I've heard the most. He will officially visit FSU as well in the summer. So those are two, and then one name to really keep an eye on is a Noel legacy is Corbin Fordham. He's a guy that I like a lot. He's committed to Ohio State, but he has been to FSU quite a few times, and that's one that I think you keep chipping away. I think that's one that they could pull in this class, and he could be one of those. One They might take one or two in this class, and I think he could certainly fall into that category as far as adding to this class. Xavier Tiller's another one,
Mm.
four-star tight end. He's committed to Texas A&M. He's going to officially visit FSU, so they have a lot on that board that really just needs to be sorted out of who if they're able to make a big move. I think really that's what we're kind of waiting on in that summer when they officially visit, because all these cats have already visited in the spring. They know what FSU is about. It's more now about really laying it down. So I think uh, I think all those guys are ones that are coveted. I think it's just really to see who bites. So the tight end room looks pretty good for FSU right now.
No, that makes sense in regards to who bites, especially with a big name like Tiller on the board and the legacy commit. I do agree with that as far as letting the summer
Yeah,
kind of play out and the board to take care of itself. All right, moving on to the offensive line. I'm
yeah,
this is a position I'm really excited for moving forward as far as the body types and the volume of guys we've seen over the last few weeks as far
hmm
as this offensive line guys that Herb Hand has brought in. Now I know this board is pretty wide and very vast in regards to the net that Herb Hand is casting. Just a few names that's been kind of sticking out to you as
yeah,
far
yeah.
as yeah, tell me about it, right? So Mike, just give me a few names that's been sticking out to you in regards to FSU on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think it's what has really stuck out to me before I get to that was just the amount of kids that talk about development under him. Like they have a previous relationship with him, and when they talk about Herb Hand, they always talk about he teaches it a way that was really easy and accessible. These are kids that visit in the spring, kind of watch some of his practices. I'd say a guy that really to watch out for is Brandon Anderson, a four-star offensive lineman. I like where FSU sits. If I had to pick, I don't know even know if I put in the RPM pick, but if I did, it would be FSU. I would say another guy to look out for is Sam Rosenborough. FSU got him, hosted him again. He's visited FSU twice in the spring. Really likes Herb. He's from that Clearwater area, so that's where Herb coached at UCF. So he has a lot of ties there with that kid. So I think certainly those two jump out to me. Janivery Carr is another one that you know really well. IMG Academy, four-star, kind of an inside guy that they certainly like a lot. Um, but I think with this class, those are just some names. There's a lot more, but there's just to name them all is really hard. But I think this class is you'll see two offensive tackles, and I think majority of it's going to be inside because I think they want more guards and certainly address that place. But I do think they do want some tackles, and we've certainly seen that with a few of the guys they've recruited across the board that have visited. I would say crap. I mean, there's been like, man, at least 15 offensive linemen that I've seen come through here in the spring that have checked out FSU that are certainly wanted by colleges all over the country. So I think Herb's done a really good job of really selling the brand and kind of selling you. That's the thing I look for, CJ, when I'm out there is I want to see kind of what the recruits think when they look at this guy. What is kind of their viewpoint when they watch him either coach or they're around him. And the constant with Herb Hand has always been the way he develops guys, both mentally and physically, really just stands out to a lot of these recruits. So I think they're going to get some good ones. I think it might not happen all right at once. I think some of them might happen during the season, but overall, it's been quite positive as far as the feedback regarding Herb Hand and that hire.
Yeah, that's what I love to hear. Great stuff. He's been one of my more exciting hires thus
Yeah.
far. And I guess moving on to another hire that I'm pretty excited about,
Yes.
and that's pot roast. Let's speak about the defensive line a little bit. First, I want to speak about the edge
Yeah.
position. What are some of the edge guys that you're hearing in regards to FSU from a recruiting standpoint? Then we'll get to the defensive tackles. Well, nose guards,
Yeah, it's
rather.
kind of weird. The edge position's really good. Like they're okay. Yeah, the edge guys are really good. A lot of talented guys in there. I think you have Cam Brooks, four-star out of Thomas County Central. Grew up an FSU fan. Really loves them. Going to visit FSU in the summer and officially already kids it in the spring. Really watched the practice. He really was blown away just by Coach Knight and the way he lets his guys go at the edge position and how much freedom they have. And then That's certainly on. Trenton Henderson's another one. 4-star Jake Cruel is one. FSU. They were one of his first offers. He visited FSU multiple times when he was like an underclassman. That's a team I think is kind of sneaky in the picture as far as their. I think they're up to probably like 7 or 8. Realistic targets from the edge position. I do like what I'm seeing from the edge position. There's a lot of different guys. Jacquez Wilkes is another one, a 4-star defensive end. So there's a ton in there. Um, and that part is the good news. The bad, they struggle. It's been a place where we just have not seen the amount of top guys. Now he did get some good news. They will host Seven Cloud, who's committed to Georgia. He's a JUCO defensive tackle. They'll have him on there, and then they're also going to be hosting Deuce Gerards, who's one of the best defensive tackles out there. And I don't think it's the message. I just think it's like these are all new and defensive tackle position. I just look at rare where there's not a lot of elite ones across the board. It's not like receiver or DB where they just cycle out left and right with 4-star talent. So I think it's taking a little time to kind of get in there. And then I think in the summer they're going to be in probably around 5 to 7 guys. But right now that's probably the position that I'm most concerned about is the defensive tackle position.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's probably one of the most important positions on the field, especially within this 3-3-5 type of defense. So yeah, we'll see if
Yeah,
FSU or Coach Knighton can rein
yeah,
the ship a little bit and get guys in. I do agree on that
yeah,
point, and I do appreciate the clarity on that on both fronts. All right, Mike. Let's move on to the linebacker position. Of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
there's new blood within the position room. In this kind of old but new blood, of course, John Pachua is the defensive end coach, special team coordinator, and move over to
Yeah,
the linebacker position
yeah.
group. And I've been hearing a lot of interviews and things in regards to the positive feedback from Coach Pap, from the recruiting front of the linebackers. I'm
hmm
pretty sure Ernie Sims, Coach White is helping along with that as well too. Let's speak about the linebacker position and some of the names you're hearing for FSU.
Yeah, they've done a great job here. I was very open and critical about my position on the linebacker recruiting last year, or even the last few years. I didn't think it was where it needed to be. This year, they've done a great job. 4-star linebacker TJ White, I think they lead for him. I think North Carolina's making a push. I think Tennessee is also in there, but I like where FSU sits there. They also are really high on DQ Forkpaw, who just visited FSU in the spring, came in there. He's really high on them. FSU's also trying to flip Xavier Griffin, who's visited FSU multiple times in the spring. I think he's going to officially visit FSU. I think there's a lot of exciting things at this linebacker position, and kind of to piggyback off your JP comment. I mean, that was one of the best moves I felt like when they moved JP to his natural position that he's always coached, which is linebackers. And then two, I think what has helped them, there's two different things. One, the young guys they have in there, Jaleel McRae, who they just added as a support staff coach, and then also Ernie Sims, who was already there, to get some youth in there. And then two, the other thing is Tony White's a former linebackers coach, having him in there, and when you meet the DC and you know he has linebacker tendencies, I think that's really impressed a lot of these top linebacker recruits across the board. That I think before usually I'm kind of like, man, hope they can kind of get one or two in there that really fits the bill. And now I think they're going to have to basically make a pick and choose because I think they're doing so well with their linebacker recruiting. I wouldn't call it the number one position they're doing the best at, but I think it's really high up there. I think JP's done a phenomenal job. I think overall, I think they're in a much different position than what I've seen before, in the last 2 3 years at linebacker recruiting.
No, that's great news. To have a complete 180 from what we've seen in the past is very encouraging
Yeah,
news. Now, Mike, I do want to
yeah,
ask you a question.
yeah.
What's that number one position you feel like they're doing the best at as far as recruiting?
Safety, Evan Cooper.
Now
Evan
let's talk about
Cooper
that. Perfect.
is my favorite addition on the staff.
Ah, that's perfect. Talk about the
Evan
safety boy career
Cooper
going into the
has done
defensive
a
backs as
phenomenal
well.
job. Yeah, there's so many. Caden Hall's one of their top guys from Milton, Florida. and also come back again on April 19th, then come back for an official visit in June. That's one of their top guys. Lasiah Jackson, a 4-star out of Lee County, same school as Usman Chromo. Everyone knows him. Trust me, you will know the name Usman Chromo, guys, in the summer. When he gets here, you will know who that guy is. So he's from the same school. Lasiah FSU, Trey Bell. Those are two commits I already have. So they're loaded. Like, they're already loaded. They lead for one or two of the guys there. I've already listed some of them. That board is extremely strong. Best position. I think the main thing with Evan Cooper is his ability to connect with people because, as you know, CJ, that's like the big how you develop players. And that was kind of the sense I had heard from the Nebraska people when he came over is this guy's a really good recruiter and man, he just and we've kind of seen that with some of the things they're hearing coming out of practice, and then two, we've definitely seen that from a recruiting standpoint. I think Evan Cooper has just absolutely killed it. I think you put that combination with Evan Cooper and Patrick Surtain, who I think's been one of FSU's best recruiters the last 2 years since he's been there.
Perfect. That's music to my ears to see that combination of Evan Cooper and Pat Surtain, who, like you said, was on a great job, in my opinion, the last few years from the cornerback
Yeah,
standpoint of recruiting. You put those two together,
yeah,
it's going to be some good things for
yeah.
DBU in the future. All right, just to kind of speak into it, you spoke about Pat Surtain. Let's talk about the cornerback board and some of the guys you feel like FSU have a shot at and leading to the official visit. Now, this has been a position where we took a lot within the 2024 recruitment class. Last year for 2025, we really didn't have to take a lot, but I think we hit on certain ones, especially Shamar from Carrollton. Of course, we did a double from Carrollton with Antonio Cromartie Jr. as well. Let's speak about the
Hmm.
cornerback position and what you see for the
Yeah,
2026 recruiting class.
yeah. Pat's done a great job already. I think their number one target, and it's been this guy from the start, is Samari Matthews out
Mhm.
of South Carolina. That's or the Carolinas. He's been the guy. Officially, he's took spring visit. He's taken like 2 to 3 spring visits. Going to come back in June. I think South Carolina and probably North Carolina. I would say Bill Belichick certainly having that pedigree there certainly is enticing. So I think those are the kind of the three teams. But I think FSU's really done the best. One of the best jobs is from a personal connection standpoint with the player. There's other cornerbacks, but that's kind of the one I'd focus on today because he's been the name that I've heard a lot, and even the names I covered in the safety board. Some of those guys could end up. We've heard that a lot. How FSU recruits is really dual positions because of some of the safeties can do some of the cornerback stuff. So I think the board is very strong as well on this on the cornerback board. But I think Samari's kind of the one that's leading the charge. There'll certainly be probably a lot more, but overall they're going to add like two or three. I don't have any problem doing that. But overall, I think even probably one of the best that I've seen so far of all the positions that just really stands out.
That's a good point, and it's interesting as well. I think Samari Matthews put out a tweet recently saying he was named after former FSU cornerback Samari Rose. So hopefully, we can have a little, I guess you could say, good juju going in
There you
regards to
go.
that. Mike, as usual, man, it's always been a pleasure. It's great to always speak with you and talk about
Yeah.
FSU recruiting things like that. I've known Mike for years, man. He's one of the best in the business, in my opinion. Mike Langston is always a pleasure. Let the people know where they can find you at, and also hear more content from you at.
Yeah. My Twitter handle is Michael at warchant.com. Obviously, where I'm majority of the time is our Warchant at just Warchant overall is where you can find me. We got a lot of certainly a lot of stuff coming up. Just released our 10 to watch. Had a lot of updates over the weekend. But guys, this guy's being humble. Make sure you follow CJ with DoakTalk, guys. It's a great group. I know CJ really well. He's got a passion for it. And as I told CJ, it doesn't matter if you're Michael Alford or athletic director or your head coach Mike Norvell or whoever. It's like if you have passion for covering this stuff, you're gonna fit right in. And I think CJ does a great job with that. I can't thank CJ enough for having me on. I'd love to be on here more. And hopefully, guys, we see a much different season this year for FSU football, and that certainly will heavily benefit recruiting because that's really going to impact kind of what they could get in this year's class.
I agree with that 100%. You can try to sell all you want to, at the same time, you gotta actually have the product on the field to back it up. So I agree with that 100%. And I really appreciate the kind words, Mike, especially coming from you. That means a lot. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check everything out in regard
Anytime.
FSU recruiting and Warchant, and go Noles.